Hello, it's me, Jennifer. Little Metal Foxes. That's right. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew what was going on with Tooltips tonight. I'm going to be joined, I believe, with Helen Coward, and possibly there she is. Hey there. And yeah, hello. How are you? And yeah, you added in here. Hello. So Helen and I are going to talk about solder picks tonight and get you updated on some of the cool stuff that's going on. Yeah, hey, hi everybody. And
Hello.
hi, welcome. Hello, Helen. So, all kinds of exciting things going on here at Little Metal Foxes. We've got Helen's going to be transatlantic here soon, and that'll be exciting. So, we'll have to do this in the middle of the night for you.
I'm trying to, oh, here we go. Trying to log in so that I can see us.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can respond
Oh, yeah.
to people who are saying
Yeah.
things. Okay.
Yeah. What are they saying?
Oh, wait,
Cool
no, it's
stuff,
the
I'm
wrong one.
sure. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. There's Chris.
Oh,
Hello.
is Chris there? Hey.
Yep.
Yes. I told him we were going to be doing talking about solder picks tonight.
Ah,
So, yeah, because I know he's got some cool tips too, so he can throw them in the chat if you like. Hi, Chris. Welcome back
and
from
Julia
your
has one
fabulous
that she
adventure.
lists on her supply list often.
Say what?
So we can't forget Julia's proposed,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
because she
So
puts it on her supply list.
she
So
puts
yeah,
what?
well, she usually there's a homemade one that she recommends.
There's a couple that I've got here that are my solutions, and there are a bunch of good ones. I know Chris has got a good one, and
Mhm.
Peppy Tools has another good one. So there's a bunch of really good ones out there. Um, but I just want to kind of share what mine are because I'm using I use solder paste a lot for the production work that I do, and it is really easy for me to use it almost like I'm pick soldering. So it's
Yeah.
really kind of interesting to use for that. The
And what's the difference between pick soldering and regular soldering?
So that's a very good question, Helen. So the difference between pick soldering and like having solder in place or stick feeding, there's like there's several different ways to kind of apply the solder. Some solder is in wire form, sheet form, paste form, powder form. So there's lots of different ways that the solder can arrive and be used to put things together, along with lots of different melting points of and hardnesses of solder too. So depending on what you're doing, you may find that using something like a powder solder works really well if you're doing something like filigree. You may find in production that something like stick feeding or larger vessels stick feeding is used a lot, where you're just taking a stick of solder and you're just like, and drawing it along a seam because your seam's, yay long.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
often see that with plumbers.
yeah, plumbers use that a lot, when they're running it around like a seam like that. A lot of times people that are doing larger vessels, boxes, um, and some production people are just so good at it that they'll, instead of using pick solder, they'll actually like stick feed the solder in because they just have like the right touch. They'll draw the solder down to, like 24 gauge and just like are super delicate with it. So
Wow.
there's, and it's for them, that's a speedier production than trying to place the solder
Hmm.
with a pick or with tweezers. Um, the Yeah, and Chris said I like tension soldering for thick bezels. And there's, sweat soldering is another kind of application where you're soldering with the solder kind of in place and pre-melting it, putting it together, and then making like a cheese sandwich out of it. So heating it up,
Mm.
making it all melty. Um, but using things like, hey there's Lyra Works. Hi. I hope you had a great time on your trip too. Um, so we've got, a lot of people that are using like they're trying to like put everything in place with tiny pairs of tweezers and moving things around, and your tweezers get burned up, doing that, and it gets kind of hard to kind of like stick stuff where you want it, or it's not staying where you want it. So that's when pick solder comes in really, really handy. So what you're doing is usually pre-melting a little ball of solder, like the solder will drop in a little ball, and using a little, I usually use a little bit of surface tension, using water, a little dip of flux, and like picking up the balls and putting them where I want them. And that, or chips where I want them. And that is a lot easier when you're working with something that has like a vertical seam where you have to like get it in there right at the right moment, or on stone settings where you've got like a couple of pieces of thin wire and you just have to like the solder right into place.
Yeah.
You know, so as soon as the metal comes up to temperature, you can kind of like touch that solder right on the joint and it'll draw it right in. So those kinds of applications for solder are, for me, I find sometimes a little easier than trying to, you know, battle with trying to pick something up with a pair of tweezers that are slick and the chips fall out and,
You know, the
you know,
flux bubbles it off, and
yeah, yeah. So having something like a solder pick comes in really handy to be able to sort of pick stuff up and put it right where you want it, right at the right time. And it does take some practice to sort of get things there. I also use solder picks when I'm doing things like bezels and putting things around the base of the bezel. I'll usually use pre-balled solder or wire. And, you know, if you don't heat up your pieces slowly, the balls will sort of run around, and the liquid, as it's dehydrating from your flux, will sometimes spatter if you heat it up too fast and can knock all that solder out of place. So using something like a solder pick is really great to like poke it back where you want it. And most solder picks, a lot of solder picks are made out of like titanium. So the solder doesn't stick to them, which can be really helpful. However, sometimes having a solder pick that it does stick to or solders to, and it draws the solder off of that, can be really helpful as well. And I got to tell you, I've been using coat hanger solder picks for a very long time.
look
And
how stylish yours is.
and they're fantastic, you know. And if you've got, you know, if your mom's beating you and saying no wire hangers, you've got something you to do this with. These also, I don't know if you're familiar with the Barbie Woodworking Shop. If you haven't, if you're not following Barbie's Woodworking Shop on Instagram, go find them because
Okay.
they are awesome. Hey, Julia's here too. Hey. So yeah, so Barbie has like an entire woodworking shop, and somebody just gave her an anvil, the tool fairy, and a forge, and so she's forging steak dogs for her woodworking bench. It's hilarious. Anyway, so Barbie could beat her little carpets with these, so they're like little carpet beaters. But I really like having a little bit of a forged, you know, or rounded up handle on the pick, just so I can see them a little bit more easily and have something I can sort of hang on to. Some people like to put corks on these or little wooden handles on these, and that's fine too. I usually just
to make sure you don't burn your fingers, I guess.
yeah, and
Not that you should have it in the heat that long.
yeah. Well, and the steel does not, and iron doesn't transmit heat. It doesn't exchange heat very quickly. So if you're heating here, usually it takes a really long time for it to travel up the solder pick. Right, exactly, or silver, yeah. So with these, the iron sort of keeps it localized on the tip when it's doing that. So I kind of like using these. I kind of grew up using, you know, iron solder picks like this or coat hanger solder picks, and they work great. And it was really frustrating for me for a while because the solder will attach. If these get hot enough, it'll solder onto the steel. And it took me a while to sort of figure out how to use the titanium picks. So these guys, you can usually find all kinds of, you know, the titanium picks for, you know, all kinds of different uses. These usually come in a set with red, blue, and yellow. Yep. Now, a lot of people will mark their solder hard, medium, and easy, yellow, blue, and red. Yep, so that you've got matching solder picks for different melting temperatures of solder, which is nice if you're really, you know, concerned about that solder, being that particular about your solder melting temperatures. Yeah, I'm not. And I usually
no, I'm not. I use the same solder pick for everything.
Yeah, and so the only thing I use a different solder pick for is gold. And so if I'm working in gold or gold fill, I'm usually using my the yellow or gold solder pick for that, or my blue one for just about everything else. Now, however, I do like a good pair of tweezers for soldering. But like I said, they do have a tendency to get a little burned up on the tip as you're working with them. So what I'll usually do as they sort of like burn up and kind of start to splay and, and don't hold anything anymore is I'll just take a pair of my real heavy wire cutters and like that, and not my good ones for not my good flush cutters, but I'll take it and just clip the tips off of those where they're annealed and not holding on very well to stuff. Clip those down, sand them, reshape them, and I've got a brand new, pair of tweezers. And yeah, don't use your good filigree tweezers for soldering. Absolutely right. Thank you. Yeah, no, I don't. Those stay in a whole other place. Those don't even touch this stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, a girl can never have too many good pairs of tweezers. So you never know when you're going to need a pair.
Or files.
Or files. Or yeah, burnishers, good flush cutters. So when I was growing up in school, when I was in grad school, Fred Finster and Eleanor Modi, two consummate metal workers that are absolutely phenomenal craftspeople and jewelers. Fred would always use a natural bristle brush, not only to apply flux, because the natural bristle brushes have a like a quill, like a bird quill feather
for the ferrule,
instead of metal. And people that are doing a lot, especially gold work and things like that, that steel that's made out of can contaminate your flux over time, because the borax and the boric acid will sort of eat it, and then you end up with steel in your flux over time if this doesn't fall apart before then. So the natural bristle brushes hold up a lot longer, and you don't have to worry about that kind of steel contamination if you're worried about it. But oh my God, Fred was so good at placing the solder in place with the natural bristle brushes. And not just this, he would use a bigger one sometimes, but just pick up his pre-melted solder balls and just like boop, 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 lay them down in place. And it was always amazing to me, that he would do that. And then, sometimes he'd singe the ends of them. But, you go through a few natural bristle brushes that way. But yeah, he would totally use that. And
Julia says that solder won't stick to titanium.
Yeah.
But she believes it will stick to oxides on titanium.
Yeah, I find that I'm usually when I'm using the titanium solder picks, a lot of times I will, as I'm using them, quench them, and that'll just like get those oxides on the surface. And then I have some watered down flux that I use, and I'm usually sort of dipping that and picking up and poking where I want things. So I rely a little bit on the water tension to help me pick things up, and a little stickiness from the flux too. But those things are great because they hold up a lot longer in the heat. They do wear down. They do kind of burn up over time. And I realized, if you look at the two of these, you can tell which one I use more often. And it just, they do sort of disintegrate away over time. But, it's another one of those, kind of unexpected consumables in the studio. But again, coating your wires. The other thing that I do use a lot as a solder pick when I'm using something like paste solder is just a pin back. And I have found that, and I'm usually using it more so for application, that I'm usually picking up a little bit of the paste solder and sort of rolling it or putting it into place with my needle. And for
so
that,
like a teaspoon, is that what you're saying?
No, it's actually like a pin back.
Oh.
Because
okay.
I have a drawer full of pin backs. So
yeah.
Great. But in my pin vise, I can put it in my pin vise and or put in a piece of titanium wire or a piece of steel, or using a needle or the pin back. So all of those, this can totally be used as a solder pick as well. So those are kind of my choices. I know Peppy Tools has a new titanium pick that is sort of like an everlasting pick. It's a strip, titanium strip that looks really good. And yeah, it's it's kind of interesting. It seems too broad for me, and I just love the feel of these things when I'm using them. So just, personal preference. But,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is, finding the right tool that works for you for the application. One of the things that I think people forget is that, the word solder, if you go and solder something, go solder it together. It's sort of like, go paint a house, it's like, well,
Yeah.
do you want me to like paint the outside of the house or paint the inside of the house? Or do you want me to like do a watercolor
How
of
do
the
I need
house?
to prep it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those words that can be, that covers a great deal of stuff. And everybody solders differently. So anytime you have an opportunity to watch somebody solder, regardless of what level they are at, watch them and see how they're doing it and what they're doing, because everybody has different different style, different touch, a different idea. They may have learned from different people. And if you sat down with like Mickey Lippy, or who's an amazing metalsmith that's been around for a million years, or not a million, she's not that old, who's been around for a long time, founder of the Seattle Metals Guild, one of the people that's been in the guild for the longest, and a number of other people, we all solder and use flux very differently, just because of the kinds of applications that we're using it for. So there's no one way to do it. And I think a lot of people are looking for like that silver bullet when it comes to, solving all of their solder issues. It's like, how do I solder better? And it's like, do more of it. Keep soldering. Oh, hey, Piglet. So Piglet's come to visit. Simon. You can see, there's Simon.
Simon's a good boy.
Where's Piglet? Piglet.
Oh, is Piglet another dog?
Piglet's another dog. Piglet is down.
Aww.
Hi, Piglet. You come visit?
Oh,
Piglet is just hi there. You're on TV now. There you are.
nice.
Yes. Neighbor dog. Down.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Piglet. Hi. There it goes. And yes. Friend dog. Simon's friend.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Oh, yeah. Have a good night. But we've got, lots of solder picks that we can use, lots to pick from, and it really is just a matter of preference. So if you've got a solder pick idea or things that you like, take a picture, tag us, tell us what your favorite thing is. Take a picture and tag us. So it's like little metal boxes. These are my favorite picks. So yes, absolutely. Something like this works really great. What's your favorite solder pick, Helen?
I just use the standard because I'm not as experienced as you, but just the regular titanium. But I have actually thought about, because I've seen the advertising for the Pepe Tool new titanium one. So I was seriously thinking about getting it, just trying it out.
Right.
One thing that I don't really know how to do, although I've done it by accident, is the pick soldering, when you put it in a little ball and then move it around.
Right.
I know that just takes a little practice, and I'm happy with doing little chips or pieces of wire and shoving it in place, and fighting with heating up my flux too fast and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, and the flux can be like glue. You can, once it gets to that sugary, like molten
really
sugar,
stage,
it actually becomes quite tacky, and you can poke things in place much better.
And there's usually a lot of flux coming in.
Lots to pick from, Blair Works.
Yes.
So, yeah, dad joke. Thanks. Hilarious. So, yeah, but there are lots of ways to pick from. So, anyway, but yeah, I think we should try that.
I do have this too, I should say.
Yes. Oh,
So it's got a titanium tip. This is from Lion Punch Forge. It is, it's weighted, so that, if you have something that you just need to hold in place.
Right. I put a little bead on mine.
So this is super handy.
Lion Punch Forge. Yeah, the Lion's Claw. So the Lion's Claw has all kinds of, and I know Chris is on right now too, so yes. And the Lion Claw, the claw. It knows who comes and goes. So, Yeah,
I might have
but
to get a
and
new
this can
one
be used in a
soon.
lot of different ways too. And not so much a solder pick, but a solder holding device,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
really helpful. So yeah. So yeah, but yeah, little beads. Thank you, Chris. I love mine.
And then
Um,
Julia had a point a little bit ago where she was talking about make sure if you're going to do your brush, solder brush, no, flux brush in the flame, make sure it's natural fiber or natural hair.
that's what I was saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder. Yeah. That's because you don't want to melt the because it
No.
just goes into a
Yeah.
ball of plastic, and that's no good.
Mm.
That's no good. Once you do that once, you'll be like, yeah, no, that's not what I wanted to do. That's
Yeah.
stinky. And then your solder's like melted inside a blob of plastic. But yeah, that sucks.
But
Anyway,
enjoy.
but we've got lots of stuff coming up. We just added a ton of new classes to
We
the Little Metal
do.
Foxes website. And I know I'm like, what? Look at all that. So yeah, we've got a whole bunch of new additions, including things like the snakeskin patterning, which is a
Mhm.
marriage of metals that you can use all kinds of different metals with to create amazing patterns. And I'm going to show snakeskin and a whole bunch of other patterns as well. Julia has her Byzantine chain class coming up,
Yeah.
and the
That's always a great class. Always a
yeah,
great class.
yeah, and reticulation.
Yeah.
Reticulation. Yeah. So reticulation is just this beautiful process of, and I'll create like sheets of reticulated surface that I will use as stock for a lot of other things, for rings, for brooches, earrings. And it's a really beautiful patterned surface. And you can do it with silver, you can do it with sterling silver, you can do it with reticulation silver, which is like a 80% silver, 20% copper. So it's a little bit lower alloy. There's a type of reticulation you can do with shibuichi that's absolutely beautiful. And gold, of course, gold alloys. So you can, and brass is the other one. So there's, some really beautiful effects that you can do with it that are kind of unexpected. You can use them in combination with the kambu, which is the gold foil technique of adding the gold to the surface, and with granulation. So there are all kinds of ways that you can use it as stock textured metal to create all kinds of really beautiful stuff. So that's coming up on Saturday, I believe, right? Yes,
Yes. Yes.
Saturday. And we still have a couple of classes, a couple of room left for the gold fill
Mm-hmm.
classes. Let's see, what else? And Rolling Mill Essentials is coming up
Yep.
on the
We have
12th.
do we have the did I put it out there? The overlay. Yes, the gold overlay is
Yeah.
up.
Oh, yes.
And then that is, we have to point out, is different than Kimbu. It's a high tech process.
It is. It's gold, lovely things.
So pretty.
Yeah, gold overlay. I'm really excited about these. I was playing with my samples this weekend and created all kinds of really fun earrings. There they are. So yeah, what? So the gold overlay is another type of marriage of metal pattern that you can do. And using, and you can do it with all kinds of other metals, but it really is kind of a great way to use your scrap gold and add all kinds of color and pop and gold to your work on a budget. You can actually use gold fill to do this too. And
Nice.
it's soldered on, but you can texture it, pattern it, and it's kind of like, it's a different process than kambu. Kambu is usually done on fine silver, and it is fused into the surface, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
a little bit more of a molecular bond versus.
it is a molecular bond. And this one is more of a soldering application. You can do some fusing with it too, but it's yeah. One of my samples is on
And it's Kimbu's much thinner.
It's on shibuichi. So yeah, so that's actually a reticulated piece of shibuichi that's got the gold overlay on it, and
Nice.
using gold fill wires on that too. So it's a really good economical way to add some gold to your pieces to get that pop, get that price point up. So, but yeah, really add a little razzle and shine when you're working on a budget. So if you're like, I've got, all kinds of scrap gold, what can I do with it? There's all kinds of stuff. So you got, broken, one left earring, that's like, I just got like a piece of broken earring wire. It's like, that'll work, bring it. So yeah, there's lots of ways that you can use that for the gold overlay. But Kambu is just a really elegant process from Korea that was brought to the States, made popular in the States probably around the 80s. Hiroko and Gene Pijanowski were sort of the ones that brought that to the States and made it as a kind of popular gold edition on really lovely pieces. And it can be quite graphic qualities, because you can cut out the foil and make it very specific. And
yes, I understand you can actually use a like a Cameo or a Cricut to cut the foil.
Yes, absolutely.
I haven't tried it yet because it's
even the little even the paper punches and the shears, any of the like paper crafting shears that create really lovely deckled edges, and those can be used as well. So it's thin enough that you can cut it really easily and beautifully. It's not gold leaf, which is much thinner. It's a gold foil, so it's probably 10 times thicker than gold leaf. So
I mean, it still kind of looks like leaf, but it is definitely not leaf. Leaf is like you blow it and it's gone.
Yeah, it's very, very thin and very light. This is more of a foil than a leaf. And so it's, And what I'm working with is like scrap gold and finding ways to creatively, successfully solder it down and blend it into the surface. So it's kind of it's a solder overlay is what it is. And using either the rolling mill or the hammers to kind of make it flat, and then by using stuff like liver sulfur, really pop those colors up, which is not necessary, but I like the look of it.
Oh yeah.
So, it's
really
quite
cool.
Dramatic. The gold and black together. So anyway, that's what I'm working on.
And Julia will be doing Kambu. You'll be doing the overlay.
Right.
And let's see, what else have we got coming up? We have the rolling mill essentials. We have solder essentials coming up too. Then we're going to do what we have on the site. We have in the end of June, it's to the beginning of July. Julia is teaching her lockets class, which is pretty cool. Talk about something that's really personal and could be a really good gift to to share. Something really personal.
The other thing that's really cool about lockets is that the number of skills that you learn doing it is amazing, because you're working with dapping and forming and creating hinges and creating a bail and creating a type of finding that snaps things together. So there's a lot of little intricate kinds of mechanisms with lockets that are great skills to learn. So even if you're not applying them to, oh my gosh, there's Sydney Parker. Hi, Sydney. Hi, little niece. How are you? Yeah. So she's just back from her freshman year at college. So congratulations, Sydney. Poop, poop, poop. There's lots of really cool technical things that you can pick up doing the lockets class, and using things like Kambu or roller mill textures or etching. All of those things help to, there's Mandy. Hi, Mandy. So there's all kinds of really cool ways that you can, I would highly recommend the lockets class, simply because in terms of whatever level you're at, if you're, intro to intermediate especially, that's a great class for you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Agreed. And so what else we are working on, let's see, hold on. We're also working on this adding gold solder inlay, which is going to be different than the overlay.
Right.
We have, you're going to doing some more of your alternative stone setting series coming up.
Right. Yeah. I've got flush setting and the simple wire baskets.
Wire basket. Yep.
that's on the schedule. So yeah,
And then
jump
you've got
in.
2 more that you haven't had before. So we're going to have the back setting or back, is that what it's called? Back setting?
Back
Back
setting, yeah.
set.
And back setting is a really great class for unusual shape stones.
Mhm.
And speaking of Eleanor Modi and Fred Finster earlier, Eleanor does a lot of really beautiful back set stones that are amazing shapes that she has cut specifically for her work. And yeah, I would say if you've got some crazy stones that you're not sure what to do with, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also are going to do some boxes and hollow box rings, which those
Yep.
are the ones that are hollow all the way through the inside. So
Right.
those can be really cool. Like Julia has this really great example of this cat claw ring. Oh my God, I love this
Yeah.
thing. And it's sort of is it completely hollow box? It may be
Yeah, I
just
think it is. Well, and
yeah,
the thing about hollow boxes is that they can be big and dramatic
yeah,
and have a lot of visual character to them and visual weight to them without being heavy. And they give
yeah.
you opportunities to have things inside and make things like little poison rings and a lot of setting stone options too. Oh, there's Piper.
Mhm.
Hi, Piper. How are you? Like all the Georgia girls are here. Hey. So yeah, good to see you guys. So we've got great classes coming up. Looking forward to seeing everybody. I am really excited about a lot of the classes that are coming up. I know Julia's
Yeah.
really excited about the granulation classes.
Mhm.
Jump in; those are fantastic. And got lots coming up. So yeah, gonna get more
We
and
have
more
our
on the
we
books.
have our list and we're checking it twice.
We are, yeah, we are 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have about, I'm planning on adding about 3 more classes uh, to the schedule, and hopefully we'll have those by this weekend. So
Okay.
there's more classes coming. So yeah, keep an eye out. We'll have updates on on our Instagram site and the stories. So be sure to sort of take a peek at those. And yeah, sound good? And if you're
Yeah.
interested in the Goldfill class or the reticulation class, and what's Julia coming up this weekend? What's she got coming up?
Yeah. Julia has this
Chain making,
weekend.
Byzantine, and the
No,
granulation class.
that's next weekend. So next weekend is the Byzantine, but and then and the gold granulation part 1.
Right, right.
So that's the 29th and the 30th. So
Okay.
get in there.
It sounds great. Yeah. So cheers to everybody, and
Yay.
have a great week. And Helen, it's always great to see you on our tool tips for the evening. And I will see you all later. See you next week at Tool Tips.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.